to change society and be part of something bigger than yourself.
Do you feel like you suffer from like anxiety?
I would say I've had anxiety, and I have anxiety on a day-to-day basis insofar as like it's a human emotion, and especially in our society, like we all experience it one way or another, I would say. Yeah, so myself included.
Or for example, I had the question in mind, it just kind of left my thought. I forget what I was gonna say.
You good?
I had it. What's like a model you live by? That's not the question I was gonna ask, but what's a model you live by, or something you live by to like get you going?
A motto I live by.
Yeah.
One thing I'd say is that I often try to remind myself is change is constant, and again that applies on a personal level and on a societal level. Like any weakness I have as an individual or any experience I lack, that can change, and I can grow, and I'm constantly growing through everyday experience. And so understanding change is constant as a person, you're always gonna continue to grow and embrace that reality. Like you don't have to ever be a finished product, you can always learn and grow. And then similarly on a societal level, again, it can feel like the problems that we face are just eternal, and it's hard to imagine an end to them or a different way of doing things. But I just remind myself change is constant, and there's always things happening every single day and things happening beneath the surface that can lead to changes that maybe can be hard to imagine. So, we were talking about the abolitionist movement against slavery in this country. There's a lot of people back in the day who thought slavery would never end. Right. And even up until like 1850 and even 1860, people thought slavery was going to be a part of the U.S. forever. And then by 1865, slavery was outlawed, and we began a new period of U.S. history. So I think we can do the same today. Like we are facing a very unjust system, a way of organizing things. Again, the concentration of wealth into a very small amount of hands, and some of those problems can feel insurmountable, but change is constant, and if we're part of a movement to try to change things, you never know just what might be around the corner.
Or I finally remember my question I was gonna ask. So like people say like capitalism is a new form of slavery. How do you feel about that, and like what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think we shouldn't underestimate what slavery was in the United States in terms of like chattel slavery, meaning that you are the property of somebody else and you are considered less than human. That is a really vile system, and had an incredible physical and mental toll on the millions of Black people in this country who were enslaved. And the reason I say that is that we should really have an appreciation for how powerful the abolitionist movement was and how significant it was. Even though it didn't fix all the problems that we face as a society or that Black people face specifically, I just want us to make sure that we appreciate that the problems we face in 2025 are different from the problems our ancestors faced in 1860. At the same time, there's a term that's often used to describe capitalism called wage slavery, which basically means that if you're a regular everyday person, if you don't work, then you don't have the means you need to feed yourself, to house your family, to have healthcare, to pay for education. And I think people enjoy working and making a contribution to society and having meaning in life. So I'm not saying like work shouldn't be part of our society, but there is something to be said for the fact that we're basically coerced to work in low quality jobs, low paying jobs in the society, and many millions of people work in the jobs that they do, even though they face disrespect and exploitation and unfairness because you don't really have a choice. Like, what are you going to do if you don't work within the confines of this system? You're not going to have the basic things that you need to survive. So I think in that sense, capitalism is a trap for the vast majority of people in this country, and I think that's why people talk about it in the same language as slavery and use the term wage slavery. I think there's something to that. So I both want to acknowledge, like, capitalism has us trapped and is really screwing people over, and also we're not facing the exact same problems today as we faced in 1860 because of the powerful movement for abolition. And so I think our task today is to build another powerful movement that can overcome the challenges we face under capitalism today, which again, exploitation, inequality, climate change, war, all these things that are happening that are symptoms of this system that doesn't care about human life and only cares about profit.
I like how you made that difference, because there is a major difference, and I'm glad that you kind of differentiate everything. Just piggybacking off what you said earlier, and I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. How do you plan on, like, helping people that feel anxious about their future? Let's say someone that doesn't want to go to college, someone that doesn't particularly not want to work, but doesn't want to be underpaid for their service or whatever they're doing, and probably more hands-on or probably more technical. They either rather work by themselves or do something that's kind of more entrepreneur, where they don't have to, like, clock in at a job. Or, like, how would you help these type of people in day-to-day with dealing with anxiety when it comes to scrutiny from society or from their parents saying, hey, you got to go to school or you got to go to work? And let's say they don't want to do that. Let's say they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to start a business, they want to start a trade, or let's say they don't want to start a trade or a business, they just want to live life without having to go to school or a trade or do a business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people should fundamentally be able to pursue their dreams. And a lot of the values in our society today are basically shaped by what's most useful to the system. So we're trained basically throughout our whole educational experience to get the skills to be useful to a corporation.
Yeah.
And so I understand why a lot of people don't want to live that life. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna be in debt, and then I'm gonna go and work for a company that doesn't really have a mission. I don't really believe in what they're doing, and I'm gonna work a lot of hours. I'm not gonna like what I'm doing. Like, that doesn't really sound like, as I'm going on, like, that sounds worse and worse. So I completely understand why people feel that way. And, I think, I encourage people to take whatever steps that they feel inspired to take to, pursue the life that they want to live. At the same time, I think we have to recognize that there are so many barriers in our society that prevent people from living the lives that they want to live. And again, if we just flipped things on its head and use the vast wealth that we have in our society to meet people's needs, imagine what would be possible. Like, we actually could have a shorter work week if more people had meaningful jobs, because there's so many jobs that are understaffed right now. Like, schools are understaffed, we don't have enough teachers. Hospitals are understaffed, we don't have enough doctors. And we could invest society's resources in filling these jobs that are meaningful and necessary for society. And if we used our resources to fund those jobs instead of only having those jobs exist if they are deemed to be worthy by a billionaire who wants to hire people, then maybe people could work 30 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week, or a lot of people work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and have more free time to pursue creative endeavors, to pursue the things that they care about and are passionate about. So I think a lot of the cultural problems we have to overcome in our society is that we're taught to try to pursue everything within the system as it exists. So people have dreams to pursue entrepreneurship or an alternative path, which, again, I encourage people to do that. Like, try to live the life that you want to live, but also thinking about like what's the biggest barrier to you actually doing those things. I mean, it's a society where we don't have a right to housing, healthcare, education, nutritious food, and all these other things. So I think people who have a desire to pursue their own dreams, to be artists, to be creatives, whatever else, I encourage them to think hand in hand about how those individual dreams are tied to or potentially hampered by the system that we live in. And again, like, but the whole through line of this interview, or one of the whole through lines, is then get involved with trying to change the society. Like, you can continue to pursue your dreams as an artist and also join the socialist movement to make sure that arts are invested in our society, and that people's needs are met so that there's more room for art and creativity. Like, I think those two things go hand in hand, you know?
Right. What is something that you would want people to know about you?
I think the biggest thing is that like, I'm a guy just like the rest of y'all, and I hope that came through in the conversation. Like, I have had the experience of growing up as, you know, a young person since 1995 in the society, dealing with the stresses, the pressures, the anxiety that so many of us deal with. And even though I'm a regular person, I have a lot of faith in my own capabilities, because I have the faith in the capabilities of all regular people. You know, that we're capable of brilliant, amazing things, despite what the top levers of society tell us. And they tell us we're not smart enough, we're not experienced enough, whatever else about us. So I have that confidence in myself because I have confidence in all of us as just regular people. And I hope that shines through, that I'm a guy, I'm a person just like everybody else who's watching this interview right now. And also, I believe that all of us as people, individually, but even more importantly, collectively, if we pool our talents and our resources and our creativity together, we're capable of very, very powerful things. And the sky's the limit, because we have the foundations in the society. Against the richest country in the world, we have the foundations to do so many amazing things. And if all of us as regular everyday people believe in our ability to make a contribution to something bigger than ourselves, there's nothing I think that we can't achieve. So I want that to come through. Like, regular people, you, me, anybody who's watching this, like, our contributions matter. And I'm really excited to be part of a movement and building this campaign over the next year to share that message with people too.
Okay, to close it off, what are some tips you can give to people that are facing anxiety, like no matter your background, age, or like some word of encouragement?
I think one is, again, like, be kind to yourself. Like, you're experiencing feelings that almost everybody in our society experiences, if not everybody, and don't beat yourself up for feeling those things. Two, invest in yourself and your well-being. And for people that looks differently, having hobbies, people go to therapy, building community, but investing in things that make yourself happy. And three, join something that's bigger than yourself, because the problems that we face and the causes of a lot of our anxiety are the symptoms of the problems in our society as a whole, and the injustice and inequality that exists. And so if we really want to get to the root of the problem, we can't just turn inwardly, although it is important for us to, cultivate ourselves as individuals. We have to be part of something bigger than ourselves.
All right, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it,
Yes,
man.
sir. I appreciate you. It was great talking with you.
Great to talk to you too.
All right, man.
Have a blessed day.
You too.